Hello, loves. I want to chat quick today on vulnerability. So, this is a topic that I hear coming up all the time. Like, you have to be vulnerable, you need to put yourself out there. Vulnerability is a path to embracing your imperfections and making your life better. So, I want to challenge this a little bit. So, let me give you the definition of vulnerability. Vulnerability is the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. Okay, so being vulnerable is not safe, right? Because in the space of vulnerability, you're opening yourself up in a space where you may be attacked or harmed. So I want you guys, so sometimes I feel like there's this pressure, like we have to be vulnerable, we have to be vulnerable. Well, I don't want you to be vulnerable in a space where you may be attacked or harmed physically or emotionally, right? My vision, and what has been a huge part of my healing process, is to create safe spaces where you can really go deeper into your own truth, deeper into your own raw emotion, where you can crack yourself open and get down to the truth, really dig into your shadow, right? But the only way to do that is in a safe space. Okay, so when you're doing that in a safe space, you're not actually vulnerable. You're actually very safe. You're held, you're supported. So I think sometimes there's this pressure to be vulnerable. But when in reality, what we want is safe space to go deeper into our raw truth. Safe space to go deeper into spaces that we have not accessed, that we have not healed, that are still raw, that are still aspects of a wounded inner child, right? So take this pressure off yourself that you need to be vulnerable and focus more on, where do I feel safe? Because when you're in a safe container, when you're in a safe space, when you're in safe company, the ability to go deeper and be more raw and honest is just going to naturally happen. You won't really be able to stop it. I have clients say this to me all the time. I swore I would never talk about this. I've never been able to go this deep before. I can't even believe I'm talking about this. This is so old. I don't even know why this is coming up, right? Because there's a safety in being able to access these spaces that in other places you are actually vulnerable and you could be emotionally hurt. Someone could attack you, someone could judge you, someone could steal energy from you, someone could manipulate you. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is, if you feel vulnerable, don't go there, because it's not actually safe. If you are in a space where you feel compelled, like you can't stop it from coming out, and you trust the people around you, it's still gonna feel uncomfortable. Like, it doesn't really feel good to be cracked open. It does afterwards, because there's a huge release, but in the initial cracking open, there's a level of discomfort that you have to work through, and that's part of accessing the shadow. That's part of accessing those lower vibration emotions that you're holding on to, those stories, those wounds that you're holding on to. So when you first rip the band-aid off, crack it open, it's like, ugh. But once you expose it and you release the energy and you begin the healing process, there's this tremendous sense of relief, and you're no longer carrying as much of that burden as you were. So just shift your thought process to, if you feel like there's things you want to get into and you want to heal, don't force vulnerability. Ask instead for safe spaces to go deeper into your healing and go deeper into your own truth. And you're just going to know when you're in the space of a person or a group or your own self that's safe, right? So I'm going to shift you away from vulnerability and shift you more into, encourage yourself to find safe space. Encourage yourself to pray for the safety and security to be able to go that deep, so that it actually doesn't feel, you don't actually feel vulnerable. You actually feel held and supported and loved. That's where your deepest healing is going to occur. And most of us have not experienced that. Most of us have been in a space where there's going to be judgment, there's going to be energy stealing, there's going to be projection. There's going to be there's going to be energy enmeshment, right? Those are places where you are vulnerable and you could be hurt, and you don't want to open up and you don't want to share in those spaces. It really is not safe. So when you find yourself in those spaces, what you could do is close your energy field, zip up, shrink your aura, and keep your energy separate from the people outside of you and around you. And it's a practice to learn how to do that, and I have workshops and stuff on that, but you want to keep that energy separate from you. When you get into a safe place where you are no longer vulnerable, you are held, you can unzip, you can expand your aura, you can be in your truth, you can open your heart chakra as big as it will go, and you can release. And that is the transformative experience. So don't open up and don't be vulnerable in places that are not safe. And places that are safe could be with one person, it could be in your journal, it could be in an audience of 5,000 people, as long as the person setting the energy in that container is making it safe. Vulnerable places could be on a phone call, could be via a text message, right? So it doesn't matter what the space is or how many people are around, it's the energy of the space that you are in. And so that's the thing I want you to start thinking about is don't be vulnerable. Okay, the definition of vulnerable is that you may be attacked or harmed. You do not want to open yourself up, open your energy field in places where you can be attacked or harmed. You want to look for safe spaces, look for practitioners who really know how to hold space, who have deeply and powerfully held space for their own healing, and they can hold you in those moments of really profound emotional shift. So if you are feeling this pressure to be vulnerable and go deeper, again, think about shifting this perspective of you don't have to force your vulnerability. You want to look for safe space, invite in safe space, call in safe space, pray for safe space, and that is where you're going to do your most valuable healing, not through vulnerability, but through safe containers. So I hope that gave you something to think about, a little shift in perspective. Not to say that the messages about vulnerability are bad, because we do want to get into our honesty, but you want to make sure that you are doing that in the right company. That is of the utmost importance. So drop any comments or questions if you have them, and let me know how you like this video.